All right, so 5.5 law of sines. So that table that you have is going to be really critical. Law of sines we can use when we have angle, angle, side, angle, or side, side, angle. So jumping right in, solve the triangle. Number 8. Angle B is 16 degrees, angle C is 103 degrees, and side C is 12. So we have the angle and the same letters side given. So that's going to be a side or angle, side, angle, I guess, technically. I don't know. I need to draw it. So, set it up. The angle and its side are always opposites. The only one that it matters where you, draw the stuff is if it is a side, side angle. It needs to be drawn like it is in the table or you're going to end up getting confused. So the pieces that I have are this angle, and this side. So this one would be an angle, angle, side case. So how many triangles are there if it's angle, angle, side? Yep, just one. So the only time we can have none or more than one, so 2, is if it is side, side angle. That's the only time we can have that. So set up all the things that I need to complete my triangle. Obviously some of this is given. So all the given information I'm going to fill in over here. And when you're answering, you need to put everything together in one, either the 3 things that you're solving for or just do the table of all 6 things, so that it's very clear where your answer is. I'm not going to be searching around for all your little pieces of your answer. So what would be the easiest thing to find right now? Angle A. How many degrees are in a triangle? 180, so I'm going to do 180 minus 16 minus 103. Somebody can tell me what that's equal to. What? So 61 degrees is angle A. So now I can solve for the other 2 sides. So always use the given information when you're going to solve something. Whatever you're trying to solve should be in the top left of our formula for law of sines. So I'll do B first. So we're going to have B over the sine of B, which is 16. So the sine of 16 equals 12 over the sine of 103. So B equals 12 times the sine of 16 over the sine of 103. And all of these are in degrees, obviously, not radians, so make sure when you type that in, your calculator's in degree mode. Somebody can tell me what that's equal to. So we're going to, just to make things easy, as far as the math goes, we're going to always round to the nearest whole number. So that's going to be 3. And then for A, I'm going to also use the stuff for C, because if I happen to have done some math wrong here with B, then I don't also get A wrong. So it'll be A over the sine of 61 equals 12 over the sine of 103. So A equals 12 sine of 61 over the sine of 103. So we'll call that 11. And so now your triangle is solved. uh, 12. Angle C is hold on. I'm going to back and do 10 because there's only a couple of these in here. So 10 is angle A is 49 degrees. Side A is 32 and side B is 28. So what situation do I have here? Side angle. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the triangle, and sometimes I draw it and there ends up being no triangle. Sometimes I draw it and there ends up being 2. It just depends. So angle A is always going to go over here, or well, I say that. Let me rephrase. The angle that is given to me for side angle will always go bottom left. Its side always goes opposite. So this is 32. The other side is the one that touches it up here. Now, I had somebody in Algebra 2 the other day that drew it completely opposite, but they had it over here, and anyways, it was this whole thing. And they still managed to get the right answer, but their triangle was like drawn upside down because their process was right. So, not to say you can't draw it a different way, but for it to look like the table that you have in your notes, this is how you would need to draw it. Okay, which is what gives you side angle. So the next thing I look at is angle A, acute or obtuse, because that depends on which chunk of the chart that I'm looking at. Yep, it's acute. So I'm looking at the right-hand side of my chart, and so the way that my stuff went, it's kind of cut. But so in this case, I have A compared to B. Just like I had in this example in the notes, you just have to look at whatever angle you have given to you. That side length is A in this case, and then the other side is B in this general scenario here. So, first of all, is A greater than or equal to B? Yes. So, that means I have this situation. If it wasn't, then I would have to go and I would have to solve for H, and H always needs to go one decimal place past whatever's given to you. So if they give you numbers with decimals, you need to go one past whatever that is for H, because sometimes H may look like it's equal to, but in terms of decimals, it's actually less than or greater than, and then it can be a whole thing. So in this particular case, A is greater than or equal to B. From the table, obviously we know it's greater than, but because 32 is greater than 28. So that means I have one triangle.
How would you find the height if you didn't have that equation?
You only find H if you have side angle. So you would only be able to find it. It's the side that doesn't have the angle with it times the angle. So now let's see. I like to go ahead and set up everything I'm going to solve for first. So what, right now, based on what I have, what is the only thing I can currently solve for?
Angle B.
Yep, angle B, because I don't have anything with C, so you can't use law of sines unless you have at least one of the pieces. So I'm solving for B, so that means that I'm going to have the formula that I used in the last one flip. So it'll be sine of B over 28 equals the sine of 49 over 32. So I'm going to multiply by 28, and then I need to take the inverse sine to get rid of the sine over here so I can get B by itself. So B is the inverse sine of 28 times the sine of 49 over 32. And depending on if your calculator lets you type in fractions, you can type it all in as one big thing. If not, I would do this inner part and then take the inverse sine of the answer that you get there. And again, we'll go to the nearest whole number for this. So 41. All right, now what can I do? Yep, so I can do 180 minus 49 minus 41. Huh? Oh, so this one's actually a right triangle. Now, once you know this is a right triangle, since that angle is 90 degrees, you could use the Pythagorean theorem, but since we're in law of sines, I'm going to use law of sines, and I actually think it's a little bit easier, but it's up to you. So, I'm going to have C over the sine of 90, which we know what the sine of 90 is. It's what? It's on your unit circle. What's the y value at 90 degrees? 1. So this is just 1. So then C is just 32 over the sine of 49. Anybody?
42.
42. And just as a refresher, throwing back to geometry, remember that your smallest angle should have the smallest side. There are like 1 or 2 problems that, depending on the order that you solve them, that may or may not always come out to be the case, just because of it's an order of solving things. So just be aware of that. If that happens, just make a note and be like, this probably, like, the side length should be different because of the angles or whatever. It usually happens in law of cosines in the pre-cal book for some reason. Doesn't usually happen in the algebra 2 book. But anyways. Let's see. Now we'll do number 12. So 12, angle C is 103 degrees, side B is 46, and side C is 61. So what situation do I have here? I guess I could be prematurely writing this, so I'll wait. My angle, side, angle, 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 side, 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 angle, side, side, angle. So then the next question is this acute or obtuse? Obtuse. So looking at, in this case, it's C compared to B because it's always the side that has the angle with it. So this is C in relation to B. We're looking at, is C less than or equal to B, or is it greater than B? Okay, so C is greater than B. That means we have one triangle. So I'm going to write all this stuff in. Now that I know I'm actually solving a triangle. So again, angle C would be here, side C would be over here, and then side B would be here. Obviously this is B, A, there. All right, so what can I solve for first? Angle B. So I've got the sine of B over 46 equals the sine of 103 over 61. So B is the inverse sine of 46 sine of 103 over 61.
So 47.
47 degrees. So now I can find A, so 180 minus 47 minus 103 is what? 30. So now solving for side A, I have A over the sine of 30. Obviously I know that too, but I don't need that value right now. And then using the given information, so 61 over the sine of 103. So A is 61 sine of 30 over the sine of 103. You say 31. All right, any questions on these so far? Did any of y'all remember this from last year?
Yeah.
Like you could have confidently done it without me going over it again? No, I was just wondering. I'm asking. I just like to poll the class because the pre-cal curriculum guide for AP says that this is a prereq for this class and that I shouldn't even teach it.
I feel like I don't have any of these prerequisites.
And I'm always like, yeah, I don't trust that they would remember this from the year before. So, anyways.
I remember this one. I have trouble one is like the double equal ones. I don't know why my brain just doesn't cover that.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm always just curious as to whether or not you actually remember it from the year before or not. Because. Yeah. Well, I feel like now with this being AP, because it's only been AP for 2 years, I think a lot of textbooks, if they didn't teach it, in Algebra 2 or even, college algebra, I feel like they're going to start adding it in now that they know that, this is considered a prereq. But most teachers are, I'll be honest with you guys, after we finish this section, we only have 5 sections left that we have to cover. Now, the 2 sections in Chapter 6, I guarantee you've never seen before. So, probably never even done anything like it. It's going to take us a hot minute to cover that stuff. That's fine. But I would say prior to spring break, we will be done with material. So, then we'll have... It's kind of late. It's technically, so, the last day of school is April 4th. So then that next week, whatever that is, 7th through the 11th or whatever. So it's a week later than normal. But Still like a whole week before Easter.
April, we did have
Well, like April 4th is like that Friday. Yeah. Because I won't be here that week.
I get out. I was like, damn.
Not our last
I
day.
was like,
Huh?
I always wish spring was like Easter. Easter always
Well, last year.
Well, last year it was. This year Easter's super late. It's like a whole week after spring break.
It felt weird last
I
year.
think it'd be nice to have Friday off, like for Easter.
Yeah.
But
Liberty
we
gets
get off.
Easter Monday off. It's always kind of funny to me.
Public school get off the Friday
Yeah,
before Easter.
they get off Good Friday.
I'm like,
That's crazy.
you don't get off Good Friday, but you get off Easter Monday. I don't know. I think colleges did it so you didn't have to drive back to school on Easter. I think that's why they did it. But it was just like the principle of it. I was like, what?
I'm start calling that.
Yeah, it was like a whole thing. Easter Monday. I was like, okay. All right, the next few problems are ones where they're just wanting us to say how many triangles there are. So if there's 0, 1, or 2. I'm also going to tell you one of the ones in your homework, there is a typo in the back of the book for how many it is. So if you get one and you're like quite confident that you're right, at least in my book, there's a typo. So if you're like, I feel like I checked this and I know it's right, just come tell me and I'll tell you if it's the one that's a typo. All right, number 14. B equals 82 degrees, little b is 17, and little c is 15. So again, we're not actually solving these ones. We're just seeing how many triangles there are. So, obviously, this one is side-side angle. So then is angle B acute or obtuse? It's acute. So in my chart, I'm looking at B compared to C. So what is it greater than, less than, equal to? What is it? It's greater than, so what does that mean? Yep. So B is greater than C, so one triangle. And that's all you have to do on those ones. Now, I'm also going to tell you, I had somebody on the Algebra 2 quiz, because they just quizzed on this stuff today, that told me, or like they just wrote on there no triangle, but they didn't give me a reason why. So you need to say, like, you need to specify why it would be no triangle. So like in this case, just telling me there's one triangle without saying B is greater than C or showing that 17 is greater than 15, like you need something to show why you knew it was one triangle. So I don't just think that you're guessing and then you happen to guess right. Does that make sense? Even on a solving one, because theirs wasn't one where they were just saying how many. Theirs was they were actually like solving the triangle, and it happened to be a no triangle problem, and they just wrote no triangle. So like to me, that doesn't tell me that you know. It tells me maybe you didn't actually know how to solve it, and you just guessed and hoped there wasn't a triangle. So make sure you specify like the reasoning behind it for those. Let's see, 16. Angle A is 73 degrees. Side A is 24 and side B is 28. So which situation do I have here? Side angle. And is it acute or obtuse? Acute. So I'm looking at A compared to B because A is what I have the angle for. So from the chart, what situation am I dealing with? Yep, I need to find H because the only situation where I don't have to find it is if A is greater than B, obviously, or greater than or equal to. Obviously, that's not the case. So H is equal to B sine A. So it's always the side that doesn't have the angle. So whatever angle goes here, which obviously there's only one, then the other side goes with it. So this would be 28 sine of 73. This is where you've got to go one decimal place past. Because sometimes there's one that it may come out and be like, oh, it's, rounded. It might be 28, but it actually is 28.2 or, whatever. So make sure you pay attention to that. So somebody can tell me what that is. 26.7. So based on that, what do I know to be true from the table? Yep, no triangle because H is greater than A. So H is greater than A because 26.7 is greater than 24. And that means no triangle. Let's see. Let's look at 20. This will be our last one. Angle B is 38 degrees. Side B is 21 and side C is 25. So this one they actually want us to solve. We're not just telling how many there are. So what situation am I dealing with? Side angle. Acute or obtuse? Acute. So I'm looking at B compared to C. So the first thing would be, is B greater than or equal to C? No. So that means I need to find H. So H in this case is going to be C times the sine of B. So 25 sine of 38. And again, remember 1 decimal past. 15.3. So H compared to B then is the next thing that I'm looking at. H isn't equal to B. It's not greater than B. It's less than B, which is also less than C. So what does that mean? Yep, H is less than B, less than C. So there are 2 triangles. So I'm going to try to draw them out for you so that you can see it. So the first triangle is this giant triangle that we normally have. So angle B, side B, and side C. So those lengths or side lengths and that angle is 100% fixed. Those aren't changing. So then the pieces that I need to find, then this has to be angle C over here. This is angle A and little a. So this, first of all, is my big triangle. So within that, I also have my other triangle, which is going to be somewhere in here. This down here will also be an angle A. This here is also going to be an angle C. Now this side length here will stay the same. It's still 21 because that's what's giving it that second triangle. And then this down here will be side length A. So I've got the big triangle and then I have this little triangle over here. Okay? So I always solve the big triangle first. That's just what happens when you solve. So I do it like this. I'll do triangle 1 and then I'll set up for all the pieces. So first I'm going to solve for angle C. So I can do sine of C over 25 equals the sine of 38 over 21. So C is the inverse sine of 25 times the sine of 38 over 21. So 47 degrees is that angle. So then now I can find angle A, and then in turn also side A. So A is 180 minus 47 minus 38.
95.
So 95, right?
Yes.
So 95 degrees. So then side A over the sine of 95 equals, what did I have? B. So 21 over the sine of 38. So A is 21 sine 95 over sine 38. So side length is 34. All these make sense so far. The smallest angle has the smallest side, and so on and so forth. So now that's all of triangle 1. Triangle 2 is actually much easier to solve. You just have to remember the process. And I had a, I don't know, enlightening moment the other day, or I don't know what you want to call it. But anyways, where normally I used to say, well, you always take 180 minus the acute angle. Well, the other day I had it to where both of these angles, angle C and angle A, both happened to be acute because of what the size that B was. Anyways, so then I was like, well, that's confusing. So let me see if I can find a better way to explain it. So as doing some research and stuff, it's actually always this angle down here that we do first. So we will always do 180 minus whatever this angle down here at the bottom is if you draw your triangle this way. So for triangle 2, obviously all the given information stays the same. So we had, what was that, 25, 21, and 38 degrees. So angle C will be what I'm solving for first. And so we do 180 minus this angle up here. They asked me the other day what those are called and why that works. I think it's like something about supplementary angles, but geometry was like 14 years ago. So anyways, don't judge me if I said the wrong thing. Anyways, but there's something in geometry that's what allows us to do that, to know that if this angle's this angle has to be 180 minus that. So angle C is 180 minus the 47 degrees from the previous triangle. And so what does that give us? Huh? Oh, yeah. All right, so now I can find A by doing 180 minus these two angles here. So 180 minus 133 minus 38. So 9 degrees. So you're going to notice typically one angle ends up being super duper large. So in this case, that was angle C. And angle A went from being obtuse to very acute. Okay, now again, they can both be acute and then end up, but one is going to be way more acute than the other when you're done, typically. One of them is going to probably be like less than 20 degrees usually. Not 100% of the time. But so now finding side A, again, super easy. So A over the sine of 9 equals 21 over the sine of 38. So A equals 21 sine of 9 over the sine of 38. So that side length is only 5 then. And so that would be your second triangle there. Any questions about that? All right. So then some problems. I'm not going to give you a ton to do, just about like 5 or 6 of them. And some of them are just going to be the ones where you're telling how many. Just because if you can do a couple. I mean, if you need to go back and do more, obviously do that. But 5, 9, 13, 15, 17. I'm just going to tell you 17 is the one that has a typo in the back, or at least in mine it does. So if you don't get the answer that they have, you can ask me and I'll tell you what it is. And let's see, one of the 2 triangle ones, we'll go with 19. So the nice thing is with 19, they tell you that it has 2 triangles. So yes, you should, just for practice, you should still show, because I'm not going to tell you on the test, this one is a 2 triangle problem. Okay. So tomorrow will just be a work day / if you have questions, and Lily's taking her quiz tomorrow, so I can give back your quizzes. They're already in GradeLink, so you can see them, but I'll give them back tomorrow so that you have them to study with. Basketball players, will make a plan for you when y'all win tonight. Because otherwise you're not taking this test for another whole week. So we'll figure something out. If you feel like you would be ready to do it tomorrow, we can do that. If not, we'll work something out. Not that you would want, well, I mean, obviously y'all are going to be playing on Saturday too, so, we'll figure it out. But Tristan, that'll apply to you too, but you'll be here next week, so, anyways, we can figure it out. I was trying to avoid y'all having to wait till after senior trip, but we'll just play it by ear and see what happens. Or I can just send it with Miss Greer and y'all can take it after the basketball game, or, whatever. You can get up at 5 a.m. and take it.